Christmas is around the corner, and today we have a very classic yet simple recipe for you, that is chocolate plum cake. For this you will need 200 grams, that is 1 cup of brown sugar that I am placing in a pan. 60 grams of salted butter, 50 grams of chopped raisins, 60 grams of black raisins or sultanas, 75 grams of prunes. To this, I'm going to add 240 ml of water and then 1 cinnamon stick. Now we have to heat this. Give it a quick stir. We have to boil this for around 8 to 10 minutes on a low flame, but make sure that you continue to stir it because the sugar might catch the pan and get burnt. Once it's done, let it cool slightly for around 5 minutes. Once it has cooled, add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Mix it and keep it aside to cool down completely. While our dry fruit mixture is cooling down, let's sift our dry ingredients. For this we'll need 170 grams of flour, that is 1 cup plus 1 tablespoon. 1.5 tablespoon of cocoa powder or 15 grams, 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1.5 teaspoon of baking powder. Mix it well. Once the mixture has cooled down to room temperature, we have to add our dry ingredients to it. But first, let's remove our cinnamon stick from it. I'm going to add the dry ingredients in 2 batches. Once it has mixed properly, we are going to transfer this into a 9-inch loaf pan. I have already buttered this and put a parchment paper at the bottom. Make sure to even out the top. And tap it on the bench twice. Now we are going to bake this for 45 minutes in a preheated oven at 160 degrees. Our cake is ready. Let it cool in the pan for around 5 to 7 minutes before unmolding it. It took around 45 minutes to bake, but please check after 40 minutes because every oven is different. Our cake has cooled down slightly and now it's time to unmold it. Run a knife around the edges to loosen it. Now take a plate, cover it up and turn it. Slowly lift your mold and peel off the parchment paper. Our cake is moist and it springs back. That means it's done. So our cake is ready and I have garnished it with some prunes. You can garnish it any way you want. Don't forget to try this recipe in one of your holiday dinners and wish you all a Merry Christmas.
I'm your host Ruchi and in this episode I'm going to make the most popular and easy chocolate dessert called the chocolate mousse. Let's mix roughly chopped dark chocolate and cream and melt it in the microwave. Let's whisk this. Make sure there are no lumps of the chocolate. Let it cool down for 5-6 minutes. While the chocolate mixture is cooling, let's grind the Oreo cookie in a fine powder. Just break the Oreo cookie into small pieces. Grind it into a powder. Let's add some melted butter, around 1–1.5 teaspoon in the Oreo cookie powder. Mix this well. Let's take the Oreo cookie mix and make a thin layer at the bottom of the glass and then keep it in the freezer and set it for 5 minutes. Soak 3/4 teaspoon of gelatin powder in 2 tablespoons of water for at least 5 minutes. Let's add the soaked gelatin into the chocolate. I'm also going to add some caramel syrup. If you don't have caramel syrup, you can use any other flavoring or you can also make it plain. Let's whisk this a little bit and then keep it in the refrigerator for at least 8 to 10 minutes. After the chocolate mix is cooled down for at least 8 to 10 minutes, we'll mix the whipped cream, 1 cup, and very carefully I'm going to fold it into the chocolate mixture. Don't use the beater. Make sure there are no lumps of the whipped cream. The Oreo cookie layer has nicely set and now I'm going to pour the chocolate mousse. And we're going to set it for another 15 minutes in the freezer. Now let's garnish it with a little bit of whipped cream. I have some chocolate heart. You can also garnish it with any kind of berries or cherries if you have any, and half of an Oreo cookie. Keep the chocolate mousse in the refrigerator till you serve. Enjoy this quick dessert in your next dinner party. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye-bye. I'm going to make rum balls in this episode. So let's get started. I have 200 grams of chocolate sponge. If you have brownies or even store-bought slice cake, you can use that. And first I'm going to grind it in the blender. So I'm just going to break the chocolate sponge and put it in the blender. Just grind this into a powder. Get this out in a bowl and I'm going to grind the remaining sponge as well. If you're using a homemade sponge, make sure you make it a day earlier so that it cools down completely and also it dries out a little bit. So it's easier to mix all the liquid ingredients and you get a nice moist ball. I'm going to mix 2.5 tablespoons of condensed milk, 50 grams of melted dark chocolate, and I've just microwaved it for 40 seconds, 2 tablespoons of dark rum. If you don't want to add rum in the mixture, you can always use 1 teaspoon of rum essence, 2 tablespoons of chopped walnuts. You can even use chopped almonds or even rum and raisins, like black raisins goes very well, so you can add that as well. And now I'm going to mix everything together. Half a tablespoon of butter. Just mix everything properly. And the mixture is ready. I'm going to dust my hands with a little bit of icing sugar so that the mixture doesn't stick to my palms. I'm going to make 1-inch balls. After you finish shaping the entire mixture, just set them in the fridge for at least 10 minutes. I'm going to coat the rum balls with dark chocolate. So I have 150 grams of dark chocolate over here. I'm going to melt it in the microwave for just 50 seconds. The chocolate is melted nicely. I'm just going to stir it in. And in case if there are any few lumps, you can always use the beater and smoothen it out. Let it cool down for 2 to 3 minutes before dipping the rum balls. I'm going to dip the rum balls in the melted chocolate and coat it properly. Let it drip for a few seconds in case there's excess chocolate and just remove it onto a tray. Before the chocolate sets, just sprinkle a little bit of these colored sprinkles so that it sticks easily. So finish coating the rum balls with chocolate and sprinkles this way and let them set in the refrigerator for 5 to 6 minutes. We haven't added any kind of preservatives in these rum balls, so they are good at room temperature for around 3 days and a couple more days in the refrigerator. And the gift for your loved one is ready. Enjoy the holiday season. See you next time. Bye-bye. Bread is loved across the world and so is all sorts of pudding. So I'm going to combine these two together to make my version of classic bread pudding. That too, eggless. In a saucepan, I'm going to mix milk, I'm going to cheat by adding the butter straight into the milk. Just a little bit of custard powder, not too much. Caster sugar. Just whisk in the custard powder properly. And now I'm going to put this on the flame. Cook this properly till the butter and the sugar is nicely melted and the custard powder a little cooked. So around 4 to 5 minutes. This mixture has come to a boil and now I'm going to get this off the flame. I'm going to remove it in this bowl. I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla essence. Mix it. And now I'm going to soak these bread pieces in the milk. I've taken around 1 loaf. You can even take sliced bread or any kind of bread, even brown bread is fine. Make sure they're nicely soaked in the milk. I have some small ramekins here that I've buttered and I'm going to fill this mixture in it. You can make this pudding in a big baking tray. I'm just making it in these ramekins for individual portions. I have some black raisins over here that I'm going to top this with. You can use any other kind of dry fruits also. Just dip them in the pudding. These are ready to go in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for around 25-30 minutes. So I'm going to place them in a tray. And now in the oven. They look beautiful. Warm bread pudding with a scoop of ice cream or whipped cream is the perfect way to end your meal. So do try this in your next meal and let me know how it turned out. Subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Today, I have for you a very special cheesecake that I had made for my husband's birthday many years ago. My chocolate mascarpone cheesecake also happens to be one of my most popular recipes on the web. I'm going to start by preparing the crust for the cheesecake. I need about 125 grams, about 8 to 10 digestive biscuits, and crush them with the help of my rolling pin. You could also process these biscuits into a powder in a food processor. This is done. I'm going to put in a tablespoon of cocoa powder into the biscuit powder. I'm going to mix it up. Then I'm going to put in a quarter cup, about 50 to 60 grams of butter at room temperature. I'm going to mix the butter into the biscuit crumbs. I'm going to press this buttery biscuit mixture into the base of an 8-inch round springform pan. And if you don't have a springform pan, use any pan with a detachable base. I'm going to put this pan inside my refrigerator to chill for about 30 minutes. Now that the crust is taken care of, let's proceed with making the filling. I'm going to put in about 2 cups, 500 grams of mascarpone cheese, 200 grams of hung yogurt, the next thing I'm going to add is about 160 grams, 1 cup of icing sugar. I'm going to mix this all up together until it is smooth and creamy. I'm using a stand mixer since I like my hands free, but you could also do this with a hand blender. Time to add in the vanilla extract. I'm going to put in a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. The cheese mixture is well blended, and I'm going to be melting some chocolate. 250 grams of chopped chocolate. You could also use chocolate chips. And for some smoothness, I'm also going to be putting in 2 tablespoons of butter. All you need to do now is mix this up together until the chocolate melts. The chocolate is melted and I'm going to allow it to cool down a bit before I put it into the cheese mixture. I'm going to put the melted chocolate into the cheese mixture. Then this needs to be mixed together. And look at how beautifully the chocolate has transformed the creamy cheese mixture with its chocolatey properties. I'm going to keep this aside for a bit and then move on to the next step, which is melting some china grass. I have about 5 grams of china grass or agar-agar flakes over here. I've already soaked 5 grams of agar-agar flakes in 1 cup 250 ml of water. I'm going to put this on low heat, stirring all the while until the china grass melts completely. Once the agar-agar melts completely, you need to stir it over a strainer into the cheese chocolate mixture, stirring the cheese mixture all the while. You need to mix this up together very briskly and quickly. It is important to quickly mix this up together as the agar-agar sets very fast. The crust of the cheesecake is set and ready, and now I'm going to pour the chocolate cheese mixture over the prepared crust. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator to chill for about 3 to 4 hours. And to make this look gorgeous, I'm going to grate some white chocolate over the cheesecake. You could give this your own special touch by grating some dark chocolate, sprinkling some cocoa powder, cherries, fruits, whatever it is that floats the boat for you. It's time to unravel the cheesecake. Always a moment of nervousness for me. It looks beautiful. A homemade cheesecake with chocolate in it. You can't go wrong with that, can you?